Hey guys, it's Earth Day, and for this month's challenge, I decided to go with Spring Has Sprung. There's so many great things about spring like rainstorms, flowers, and festivals, so I'm going to make regional variants of 3 different Evo lines with each one taking inspiration from one of these themes. Let's get into it. The first Pokemon I redesigned for today's video is a pretty popular Pokemon, and if I'm being honest, I know it's not the most original idea. Swablu and Altaria are some amazing Pokemon. From their design to application, I really don't have any complaints. Even though Altaria got a Mega Evolution, that was like a decade ago, so I feel like it's due for something new. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, but here's my take on a regional Swablu. This is my regional Swablu, the Storm Pokemon. I have sorta just nicknamed it Stormcloud Swablu, a real original nickname for a super original idea. But when I think of spring, I think of rain, and well, Swablu needs a rainstorm variant. So I know that a lot of people have thought of making an electric-type Swablu, but I just love the idea, and I've wanted to try my hand at making one myself for a while now. Because Swablu has cloud wings, it only makes sense that at some point we would get an electric-type variant based on storm clouds. When I was designing my own Stormcloud Swablu, I knew that I didn't want to make drastic changes to the body shape, focusing more on the head feathers and posing, but enough changes that the design would stand out. I made the head feathers lightning bolts and posed Swablu in a more active pose. I gave the design some lightning arcing between the wings and down the body. I made the body a dark gray and the beak a light gray so it would better blend into stormy skies. I was going off the assumption Swablu is blue for the same reason. The shiny, I wanted to go canary yellow as a nod towards the original shiny, which is one of my favorites. Blue isn't uncommon among electric types, and blue lightning felt like the perfect way to tie the shiny together. For the ability, I gave Stormcloud Swablu static, and the hidden ability is Drizzle. For stats, it's more defensive than offensive, but a generally even spread. Though it's an idea that's been done before, I really like my take on it. I'm really happy with all the variants in this video, but this one is really good. Now, of course, I'm not going to stop there, so let's move on to my take on the next evolution. This is my regional Altaria, also the Storm Pokemon. Just like with Swablu, I have been calling it Stormcloud Altaria. Like Swablu, I wanted to retain most of Altaria's design, focusing on the pose and features like the head feathers and feet. I also changed up the tail to help further distinguish it from regular Altaria. The head feathers look like bigger lightning bolts and the pose is also very active. Since Stormcloud Altaria is electric type, it was important that the pose felt energetic. I kept the same color palette I used for Swablu, of course, and again added an arc of lightning between the wings, continuing it down the body. The shiny color palette is pretty much the same as Stormcloud Swablu as well. The ability and hidden ability are the same as Swablu, of course, and I kept the stats defensive with a higher special attack than attack, though it's pretty much a physical special split attacker. Stormcloud Altaria are found in regions known for electrical storms. No one is certain if they power the storms or if they are charged by them, but only that where there's thunder, you'll find Stormcloud Altaria. I'm super happy with this design, and I'll probably end up bringing both Swablu and Altaria into the Usana region. What better place to find this variant than a region known for its big skies? So even though it's been done before, I hope you like my take on this variant line. And so the saying goes, April showers bring May flowers, so the next Evo line was inspired by spring greenery. When I was looking for a Pokemon to give a natural spring variant to, I wanted to pick one that would really bring out that vibe. I spent a good amount of time looking through Pokemon and came up with a short list of about 4 Pokemon that I could give grass type to that would feel like spring. There's a lot that could be grass type, but I was using a strict criteria to keep the list short. So the Pokemon I chose will embody spring and all the plants in bloom. This is my regional Numel, the hill Pokemon. So when I first saw Numel, I was surprised to find out it was fire type. After seeing Camerupt, it made more sense, but I really wanted Numel to be grass type. The hump on its back made for a perfect grassy hill, and I thought it'd be cute if there was a little sprout growing out of it. For Numel's hair, I gave it these leaves that resemble a slicked back hairstyle. The colors I wanted to really bring out that grass brown type, so I made the body a mud brown and kept the pattern green. I also made the eyes green because I thought it would be cuter. The shiny is a bit subtle, but so is Numel's, so I'm okay with that. Some shinies are meant to be the bane of shiny hunters, and that's just how it is. It's the rules. I don't make them up, I just play by them. For the abilities, I went with Harvest and Leaf Guard, and the hidden ability is Natural Cure. As with most of my ability choices, it was thematic and worked well with the way I set it up. The stats, I went with a solid HP, attack, and special attack. Since camels roam across vast deserts, I thought this variant of Numel could be found crossing plains areas, but because they move very slowly, grass and other plants begin to grow on their backs. I can imagine a herd of them moving across the plains, and well, it's adorable. Considering Camerupt has volcanoes on its back, I'm sure you're wondering how I'm going to make it grass type. Well, wonder no more. Here is my regional Camerupt, the Verdant Pokemon. So when I decided to give Numel and Camerupt the grass type, I had the inspiration that the volcanoes on Camerupt's back looked exactly like upside down flower pots. Well, maybe not exactly, but I could see the possibility in them. Since I made Numel the hill Pokemon, I thought making the pots cracked would allow the humps of Camerupt to be hills with bigger sprouts growing out of them. Instead of rocks at the base of the pots, I made grassy tufts of fur. I rounded out Camerupt's hair and made the ears a little smaller. The circle pattern is now a flower pattern and yellow because every spring I see yellow stuff everywhere. Camerupt has a pretty cool shiny, so I tried my best to make the shiny for mine cool too. I went with the same abilities of course, and for the stats I really leaned into the attack and special attack. Because this variant of Camerupt lives in lush plains areas, it's grass type and covered in thick, soft grass. They are slow and peaceful, spending their days walking from one side of the plains to the other, grazing peacefully and causing plant life along those paths to flourish. So that's my take on a grass-type Numel and Camerupt. I think they turned out pretty great, but if I'm being honest, I saved my favorite spring variant line for last. As I said in the beginning of the video, when I think spring, I think rainstorms, plants, and festivals. The final inspiration for this video was of course spring festivals. All across the world, spring is a time for celebration and new beginnings. So I knew I needed a Pokemon design that would capture the whimsy of spring festivals. This was probably the toughest one to choose a Pokemon for in this video, but in the end I'm really happy with my choice. Maybe this Pokemon isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think festivals and whimsy, but I hope when you see the new design you will agree it was the right choice. Okay, I think I've stalled enough, so here it is. This is Festival Gothita, the sweet Pokemon. It's just so cute! So I'm sure you're wondering how I came up with a Festival Gothita, and well, I was looking at the Gothita line and thought, what if instead of being gothic, it was pink? I started designing Gothita at first with the intent to make it wearing a sundress and being obsessed with flowers, but as I was drawing it, I came to the little shape on the top of Gothita's head, and I realized it would be a perfect way to incorporate dango, a kind of Japanese festival food, into the design. That little bit of inspiration was all I needed, so I put a dango on Gothita's head. The colors are pink and green because they fit the spring festival vibe. The shiny was inspired by a different variety of dango that is served with a savory orange-brown sauce. For the abilities, I went with Sweet Veil and Competitive, and the special ability is Sugar Rush. Sugar Rush is an ability I came up with a while back when I designed a regional variant for Gyarados. But if you haven't seen that video, I'll save you some time going back to watch it. Every time this Pokemon does damage, its speed goes up by 1 stage. When it came to the stats, I went very special oriented with a decent speed for a first stage of 3. You can find these cuties hanging out around festivals because they love to eat and play games. The next Evo might be my favorite Pokemon I made for this video. This is Festival Gothorita. After I had the dango inspiration, I knew that I could keep that theme going by, well, turning Gothorita's hair into dango. Since dango is served on a stick, I made one sticking out of either side of the hair. I made a lot of minor changes to the overall appearance of Gothorita, but I think it's still instantly identifiable. I kept the same color palette for both the regular and shiny. I gave Festival Gothorita the same abilities, and for stats, I went with an even split on defense and special defense, but the special attack is significantly higher than the attack. You can find Festival Gothorita in regions that have big festivals and celebrations. Though they may act like they are bored, they secretly love spending their time competing for prizes and sampling festival food. When I said this one was probably my favorite, I hope you can see why. It is almost the complete opposite of Gothorita, and yet you can still tell that it's a Gothorita variant. I really like the pink, and making the hair dango was such a creative idea. Let me know if you guys agree in the comments. And, of course, I didn't stop at Gothorita, so let's take a look at the final Evo and Pokemon in this video. This is Festival Gothitelle. So when I decided to take inspiration from dango and the Gothitelle line, I knew that the final Evo would be the hardest. Gothitelle has a very interesting hairstyle and a unique overall design. So I decided to keep the dango inspiration going and also tie it back in with Festival Gothita's design. I would give Gothitelle a full dango on top of the head. And I kept the same design elements that I did in the previous evolutions for the face and bows. The dress is a segmented ruffled style with flower cuffs. And to help keep the same feel that Gothitelle's hair has, I turned it into ringlet curled pigtails. The colors are the same as the previous Evos for the regular and shiny. For the stats, I kept the pattern going of high defense and special defense and being special attack oriented. The speed isn't half bad either, especially considering the ability Sugar Rush. Since Gothitelle looks very cranky, I decided to lean into that, imagining that after 2 evolutions of festivals, Festival Gothitelle has become cranky and tired. All the food and games has left Festival Gothitelle a little on edge. I think this is a really fun and creative variant for the Gothitelle line, and would be really cool to see in game. I had a lot of fun designing the Pokemon in this video, and I hope you had fun learning about them. And that's my Spring Has Sprung challenge video for this month. Next month, I will be introducing Routes 2 and 3 of the Usana region. Also, you will get to finally meet Professor Cherry and learn what the first gym will be. The challenge video is one I'm especially excited for. It's May, I Draw Your Fakemon. I've been taking submissions for a while now, and I'm super excited to have a chance to draw a Fakemon for other members of the Fakemon community. I really appreciate everyone who has submitted an idea already, and I'm still taking submissions. Not everyone will be picked for a full feature because I don't want the video to be too long, but there will be honorable mentions and future videos. Even if it doesn't get featured, there's a good chance I will still draw it and send you a copy, so if you have an idea, feel free to comment below. Speaking of comments, if I want more people to see them, YouTube has to know you like it, and well, it makes me happy, so there's that. If you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It not only helps the channel, but it'll make sure you don't miss out on future videos. I'm almost to 100 subs, which is crazy, and I'd love to see 100 soon, so help me out by subscribing. And that's about all for now. Until next time.